When I met Jesus Christ, he was almost 10 years old, and he was helping his mother push a trolley full of all they owned. And because they couldn't find an inn they could get in, they were heading to the city and leaving Bethlehem. Couldn't you perform a miracle? I'm out of them, he said. I tried turning nothing into warmth, but it just made my mother cry. It just made my mother cry. Mary Magdalene has become a man, and tonight he's old, and she has been riding my tram. Now it's late and she's trying to sleep beneath the poster for a bank. Your dreams are important to us as it bathes her face in gold. Come give us your natural gifts, we make wealth from toil. Come pretend for history's page that we're advancing Australia fair. Let's pretend that we're all advancing Australia fair. Back down the road I found the church we built on the black man's bones was empty, and out the front a sign read all but sold. A sign. So head down, we just a sign read all but sold. A sign read all but sold. And we all owe so much money, but to whom we're not quite sure. So head down, we just keep running along our fading golden shores. So head down, we just keep running along our fading golden shores. Come give us natural gifts, we make wealth from toil. Come pretend for history's page that we're advancing Australia fair. Let's pretend that we're all advancing Australia fair.
Okay, let's jump right into it and bring in the guests. We have the doctor, we have the Wolstencroft, and we have the guru, who's vanished into his bag. He's already fatigued.
He's fatigued.
That's right. I'm already exhausted by
Country
you.
air, mate. Country air gets to him every time, mate. He's in bed by 8 o'clock normally, mate, so you're keeping him up.
You'd hope so.
Well, it's lovely to
What
see
would be
you
wrong with
two, I
that?
have to say.
But he's holding a, is it a blue light disco? So what's going on at your house tonight, Thrusta? Fill us in.
Youngsters having a birthday party. It's actually pumping just out there.
Oh, very good.
We've got the bus on because our battery's a bit low.
There's movement
so
there,
that's,
mate, in the back of your
flying
bus.
in.
Someone's in the back of your
Yeah.
bus.
Yeah, that's my new partner. There's so anyway, before I get to the Oos, David, it's been ages since you've been on. How have you been? And what are your thoughts on the shit show that we call the decline of our culture?
My lord. Look, I've been all right. Been busy doing lots of stuff. How long have you got, boy? You know,
What do you think of Bondi,
on
mate? What do you
many
think of
levels-
Bondi?
You know exactly what I think about that.
Oh, tell us.
Well, you know, I mean, I didn't know about it. Well, the first thing I knew about it, I think a fellow over here sent me a message, and a couple of other people sent me messages. Do you know what's going on in Bondi? And about 30 seconds later, one of the kids asked me what's going on in Bondi, and I said some sort of false flag attack of some sort is going on.
Yeah.
It stinks to high heaven. You can bet your bottom dollar that the intel agencies, and I would assume foreign intel agencies, are all over it like a rash. And it's rolled out how you would expect it to roll out. I am
censorship
unhappy about the whole thing. I'm actually quite distressed about the whole thing. I don't like to see people, mass murdered in public. I think that that's a pretty ugly spectacle, and I don't like the way that our so-called politicians, I mean, I don't even want to call them that, are just following an obvious script, and it's all pretty obvious, isn't it? Really, what's rolling out, Yeah. It's like bingo, isn't it? They're just hitting the buttons and up it comes, and the next thing is always very predictable. Anyway, I don't want to be too jaded.
It's always problem, reaction, solution, isn't it, with these things? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's all become very predictable and ugly and tiresome.
Have you ever noticed the way
my level of disgust at the mainstream media and our political class has grown beyond what I thought it could possibly be. I am revolted by them and their behaviour.
Yeah. Have you ever noticed the way Muslim terrorism never really helps the Muslim community at all? They're the ones.
Well, this is one of the first things I said to the kids. I said, who benefits? It's the most obvious question. I know it's really obvious.
Muslims
I know it's screamingly obvious. Who benefits? Yeah. A bunch of random Muslim dudes from the burbs do not benefit from this.
A certain other group who shall remain unmentioned from the Middle East, Israel perhaps. There we go. They seem to have done right out of this.
Is it just me? It seems so obvious. It seems so freaking obvious. We knew something like this was going to happen after the dodgy caravan thing in Barrow.
They made that up, didn't they?
New South Wales. They literally had the caravan stacked full of explosives, sitting on the side of the road for a couple of weeks.
That's right.
Look, I don't know about you, but every time I stack a caravan full of explosives, I tend to forget where I leave them. So I leave them on the side of the road, or I left them, at my mate's house for a couple of months. I've got so many caravans full of explosives lying around.
I wouldn't have joked about
everywhere.
I wouldn't joke about.
Come on.
I wouldn't joke about that at the moment. You'll have half of Australia's.
I know.
At your door in the morning.
I realise. Don't worry.
Can I say, David,
seriously, how ridiculous can this story get? It's absurd and it's obvious.
Can I just say, David, Paul is a Bondi boy. So he's grown up in Bondi. He's crossed that bridge thousands of times. So, Paul, for you, I know we spoke about it, but even now it still must resonate as you can't believe it happened there.
No, I can't, but I sort of can too. So because
were you there on the day?
No, I moved.
Did you get the word to move out of the area? Perhaps just maybe 12 hours before.
We have had people contact us
from the divide itself. If I got word, but two years ago, I look. It's a hard thing because the Jewish community feels a lot of hatred. And we are in a country, a global situation where there's like 2 billion Muslims and 15 million Jews. And about 7 million are in Israel and about 7 million are in the US. In the US, mainly US and Israel. And there's about 100,000 in Australia. So outnumbered sort of 10 to 1, but globally outnumbered massively. And you've got a whole world that seems to want, hatred's bad. I think
they're still doing okay, though. I mean, they're not doing too
bad. My point is, my focus is always human rights. I grieve for a Palestinian kid, Muslim kid that gets shot. I grieve for a Jewish Australian or a Jewish Israeli kid that gets shot. I don't care where they are. I think all humans have the same rights, not to be attacked. And we live in a time of war, and I don't know what the truth is. I think David may well his the false flag thing. Who's to say? We've got intelligence crawling all over our society the last few years, and I think we live in a time of war. And that's why I was trying to come back to first principles. That if regardless of what religion or people generally don't want.
Tends to always be the same group of people at the moment, though. You got to admit, don't you think?
It's kind of the Muslims.
They're inseparable from our society.
It's not the Eskimos, mate. It's never the Eskimos. It's never,
No, you're right.
Nobody wants the Eskimos' land.
Well, with global warming, maybe it'd be
Hard on the ball.
Yeah, I'm actually buying up a lot of Eskimo land at the moment. I see it's a great investment.
I'm banking on the Eskimos.
I recommend you do likewise.
Yeah.
Can I draw your attention to one thing? Like on one
closer
hand,
to the microphone, David.
Come closer, mate.
That would be my pleasure. Believe me.
That's it.
Now, on the one hand, we've got the caravan incident in wherever it was, in rural New South Wales, wherever it was, can't remember exactly. And on the other hand, do you remember, it wasn't that long ago, I guess it was like early this year or something, the federal police and the intelligence agencies, surprise, surprise, were busted grooming this 13-year-old autistic Arabic child, male child, boy, as they were traditionally known. They were busy grooming him, and they were busted doing this. I'm sure you must remember this incident. I find this incident very illuminating. Okay, so of course, as you understand, what that told us is that the intel agencies and the federal police and their friends were grooming this young lad, and I'm sure he's not the only one, influencing him on the internet deliberately to radicalize him to carry out potentially some kind of attack. Okay, and you would have noticed if you watched any of the testimony of the people of the feds in front of the Senate, I believe it was. I did actually watch some of this testimony. They were incredibly lacking in remorse for what they had done. They were kind of proud of what they'd done. They tried to push this young, very, I would assume, quite challenged child into this area of, causing violence potentially, certainly being in the position where he might cause violence. They were not at all ashamed of this behavior. In fact, they seemed kind of proud and annoyed that they were being raked over the coals for it. And I think that there's a lot of really useful information in that. Okay, so there are intel agencies, some of them domestic, I assume, and some of them international, who find it entirely acceptable, and I don't, to groom young people and to turn them into what's called, you might have heard this term, wind-up toys. That is people that they wind up and they send them off to commit some heinous act. Okay.
Yeah, and they go, oh my God, what happened?
Yeah, what happened? Oh,
and if you think about it,
that would happen, except that we created the situation and we created this person and we set the context for them to do this. They were even busted doing this earlier in the year, this exact thing. So odds on, okay, I'd put money on the fact that these two fellows who supposedly shot up Bondi, and it's an ugly business.
Mate.
I hate the fact that this has happened in such an iconic
did happen, mate. No, you're not a denier, are you? You're not denying it.
They did happen.
No, I'm simply saying if those two men
don't go too far, David.
And it looks like they did, I would assume there's some kind. This would be my assumption. There's some kind of wind-up toy. Okay, so behind them somewhere is the intel agencies winding them up to make them do this because they get everything they want. Okay, it's like Christmas came early, unfortunately, in Bondi. They'll get everything they want. They'll get more surveillance, they'll get more control, they'll get more laws to lock up people who've done nothing, and they'll get everything they want. Bingo.
I mean, it's extraordinary, isn't it, that they're kind of like targeting the far right at the moment. When it's the far right that have been warning about this kind of thing, you know what I mean? And the people who are actually doing it are just getting away with it, whether it be the intelligence agencies or actual, Muslim immigrants. you know, as the case may be.
Can we move to something else? It's still a shooting.
Sure.
But it's something that I've been holding off on, but now it's really bothering me. So who's that black comedian who comes out with a special on Netflix? He's the best.
Dave Chappelle.
David Chappelle has just come out and called Charlie Kirk the Martin Luther King of our time with the assassination and everything. He just came out on a Netflix show.
No, I just watched it.
Oh, well, I've got a thing where he says it. I saw it today.
Yeah, but he says he's not. He says he's not the Martin Luther King. That's what he's saying.
Oh, I thought he said he did. Okay, well, whatever.
No.
But his wife is freaking me out. The grieving of his wife with all the glittering. I'm looking at it going, I'm sorry, I don't see a grieving. You sat there and watched your husband get shot in the neck, and all I've seen is crocodile done tears. And I'm not buying it. And I want to buy it because I don't want to think, but I'm not buying it. And now she's going on the show. She's there. And I'm thinking, you know, it's just.
No, she's very weird. She's very strange. And look, I think the rumor is that J.D. Vance will get a divorce in the next 6 months to a year, and he will marry Erica Kirk, and they will run for the White House in 2028. You see, that's the rumor. And they had that woman, Cardi B, who did that Wet Ass Pussy, which I'm sure is everyone's favorite song here. David was going to do a cover of it, I know, but he just kind of held off. So Cardi B said that J.D. Vance, she said to Erica Kirk on stage, she called J.D. Vance the assassin. And then she just kind of realized what she'd done. Like, she kind of like put it, but I think it was like a Freudian slip, you know, where you're not meant to say something. It's like when you get on stage, whatever you do, don't call J.D. Vance the assassin of Charlie Kirk because that would fit in with the plan. But she did say it, and Erica Kirk helped her and said, "Oh, that's all right. You know, like I understand that you didn't mean it that way, or whatever. You know, like she just froze, like she literally went, "Oh fuck, what did I just say?" And you can look it up. She called J.D. Vance
apart from 10 million people.
I saw someone just mention the term. And the obvious term is honeypot, and I don't know exactly, okay. But what I do know is that we've got to really sort of drill down into this. This whole world, the world of the spectacle that is presented to us is incredibly fake and engineered. Okay,
it is.
So behind all this smoke and mirrors kind of nonsense, there's a real stench. And I go back to all this Epstein stuff. I think the Epstein stuff is incredibly important, important, because it's the moment that the curtain opens up and you can see the wizard behind the curtain and what he's up to.
Hasn't that come out?
This is how they control our political class and our media class.
Hasn't that come out of late?
It's blackmail, and it's compromisation and the whole thing. And this is the glimpse through the curtain.
There's a new release at the moment with the Epstein files because they've redacted them, obviously, but you can actually unredact them yourself. There's a site called Unredact. Yeah, because what they've done is they've put black, but if you cut and paste into a Word document, you get the whole thing without, and you see Donald Trump.
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah, you can. I don't know how many documents. They probably maybe fixed it by now.
They're not hiring the best and the brightest these days. I'm not sure if you've noticed, but they're not hiring the best and the brightest.
Well, yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it's really, really interesting. And, look, it's shocking. And one of the things that really, you see in some of the articles is that, because there seems to be an implication that Epstein was just really after teenage girls, like girls aged between 13 and up to the age of 18. And they're the ones you see in the pictures with, your Bill Clinton and stuff. But there are also pictures of him with very young girls, and that just makes you realize the level of Mossad evil, and just, the level of blackmail. But obviously this stuff is mostly would be.
Well, it's going to, let's be blunt about this, gentlemen. It's going to be far worse than average fellows like the likes of us can even imagine. Okay. Like I've heard all sorts of whispers about the Epstein stuff, all sorts of crazy stuff. I have a friend in the States, a good friend of mine. He's an excellent fellow who used to, I've mentioned him before, I'm sure. He used to work for Harvey Weinstein, my friend,
of course,
at Miramax, right? Yeah. And he's a good, very, very close friend of mine. And he told me 20 odd years ago, he said, Harvey's a nasty piece of work. I avoid him like the plague. He's my boss, but he's a nasty, nasty piece of work.
And there's all these photos of Woody Allen, who is a famous, icon of cinema. And then, of course, Noam Chomsky, of all people, And apparently,
Ta-da!
I know, I
Oh,
can't
yeah.
believe that.
But
and he's
my
actually
friend
been
was
accused.
telling me, and he's a very intelligent chap. He'd done all this research off his own bat, and he'd identified, I'm sure I've mentioned this before, but he identified that Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein's consort, his assistant in these crimes, she's a certified submarine captain. She has a certified submarine pilot's license.
That's right.
Right. Yes, it's true. It's completely
Where
true.
do you get one of those?
She also ran a charity. Ghislaine Maxwell ran a charity worth
For the sea.
hundreds of millions of dollars, apparently, worth hundreds of millions of dollars,
Yep.
whose purpose was to keep the maritime laws as they currently are. It was advocating to keep the maritime laws as they are.
Yeah.
And they dressed it up to look all very nice and preserving the environment and sustainable, blah, 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 and all this stuff.
Did you know?
But the key thing was the maritime laws. Once you get out past the sort of international waters, there are no laws.
That's
okay.
Right.
So her charity was about maintaining this lawless situation in international waters, where for example, if you had a submarine and you were a licensed captain of a submarine, you could traffic hundreds of young people, children, wherever you might want to do, and it's perfectly legal to do that.
Straight to the tunnels, mate. Straight to the tunnels.
And you might. One interesting connection is the island opposite Jeffrey Epstein's island, which had a decommissioned U.S. submarine base. I'm not making this up. Nobody touches it. It's all true. It had a decommissioned U.S. submarine base in the island that you can see from Epstein's island. You can literally see this island. And that island was owned by Joe Biden's brother.
There you go.
Okay?
Wow.
So David, I don't know why you consider this so sus. All my ex-girlfriends had submarines pilots licenses.
There you go. Richard Branson.
Can you imagine
I
setting the exam?
I don't know one single person with a submarine captain's license. Not one.
We're going to do rear parking.
Paul knows a lot. Paul knows a lot.
Okay.
Paul's got his finger on the pulse, obviously. And now...
my point is, the reason I bring that up is I do believe that ultimately mere mortals like us, average Joes, if I may say, Richard accepted, of course, but average Joes like the rest of us can't really imagine the depths of depravity that are just behind the surface, okay? Just behind your pathetic political figures and your pathetic media celebrities and all that dross. Just behind them is a kind of depravity
they can't believe.
Cannot even imagine.
Richard Branson is seen in these photographs, and he also had an island very close, and he was known for having
what do you know?
Parties. What do you know? And his island was within like maybe half an hour on a boat at the most. You know what I mean? 20 minutes probably. So it seems to have been a whole network, and they're also various different nefarious things. If you look into
and the thing about it, the most important thing about
it seems there's a sense of normality to it. That's what's interesting, because I think we all think that Epstein is this complete outlier. Nothing's ever happened like it. But no, I think that the celebrities that are hanging out with him, within that rare atmosphere of billionaires and the global elite, this appears to have been not that unusual. There probably are a number of other operations like that we know nothing about. Well, there's another example. Yeah.
Another one right
but I mean, I think historically this
why
goes
they turned on him. What did he do?
Nexium. Yeah,
that
Nexium
suddenly makes them turn on him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
he became too obvious. He became sloppy, or who knows?
Like Weinstein.
But
I just need to answer this for Kerry Vincent. All you need is Damien here. Unfortunately, Damien, because of his light bulb changing exercises, he's a few legal issues and can't join us just at the moment. So, but he wanted to. He's here. He said he wanted to, but he just can't at the moment.
How long does that last?
I want you to keep something in mind. When we talk about all this stuff, right, this is not so well known. So Donald Trump's mentor was a guy called Ray Conn, okay?
I know him,
a New York lawyer, who was also involved. He has been accused of running Epstein-like activities for decades. Decades. And this is Donald Trump's mentor. Okay. So what this tells you, if this accusation is true, and let's just assume for argument's sake that it is, that this stuff has been going on in behind the scenes in that world for
a long
decades.
Well,
Okay.
didn't J. Edgar Hoover do it? I mean, J. Edgar Hoover just
Yep.
had. I mean, this is how you control.
Well, he was a cross-dresser. He was into cross-dressing.
Yeah,
but I don't know
he
if
still has files on everybody. That's why he stayed in power.
He did.
And you
Yeah,
don't even know if they've got files on him. You know?
That's the thing about this blackmail. I mean, it used to be for homosexuality. It used to be that they were able to blackmail homosexuals. But in this sense, in this day and age, if you come out and say, oh, some celebrity, Timothy Chalamet is a homosexual, that would only make his, his movie probably double its profits. You know what I mean? Like, that's not something that you can blackmail people with anymore. But this other thing still is, obviously.
Do you know, what disturbs me is that there is a class that can literally get away with, they believe, with anything, including murder of children, abuse and human trafficking, and they flaunted. They were flaunting it over during COVID and stuff. They were having great big parties or satanic rituals out in the open among the artists. So we know who our enemy is. We're dealing with pure evil, and my experience of Epic was about half the people of the huge number that were there to protect the children, And
that was a big part of the movement, in the freedom movement, particularly.
It still is. It still is. If we're not able to protect the children, we're doing nothing. Go on, Mark.
I always say,
I think it's just for 2 secs. Tom Vogel and I, who's a great fan of Richard,
we've got to shout out to Tom Vogel.
But we were talking, and I said, we haven't named this war because we're in World War III. But what it is a nonsense war. They're constantly trying to get us to believe nonsense, even though we can see it's bullshit. And because they've got all the money and all the guns, and people are going, yeah, whatever. And the movement against them, the dissidents, the one thing that unites us is we like common sense. 2 + 2 = 4. Men can't give birth. Sorry, you can't. And this is what we're holding on to. If you think of everything they've put over to us, we just keep going, well, that's, climate change, it's bullshit. You can see it's bullshit. And that's what I think is happening. And in Australia now, I see
it's freezing in Melbourne, by the way. It's freezing.
A sort of common sense coming up as if, not in huge months, but enough to go, no, that's crap. And you see it in the comments when Channel 9, like today, someone posted, it was on a radio station I heard, and they said, if it wasn't for the jabs, we'd still be all dead from the pandemic. It saved all of us. And I'm sitting there in the taxi going, you fucking bullshit. And just to get it fit in, I was sitting next to a old Muslim guy who got on the phone and was talking in Islam. The only Arabic, the only word I understood was albo, which almost made me want to join in. And but I said to him at the end, I said, you know what's beautiful? Your language is one of the most poetic languages on the planet. If you listen to Arabic spoken in this,
very poetic. I would
such a beautiful language.
Yeah, I would say this is so poetic as I'm driving them to the airport to deport them. Okay.
No, but it is. It truly is. And
it's so poetic. History. I've got to visit. I'm bound to visit one day.
The problem is that whatever race or religion comes to the country, they have to agree to basic rules.
People.
We have to have some sort of. We have to have some sort of consensus. One is not to go out and bring wars from foreign lands here to Australian soil. That we have a right to be. We have a right to feel safe.
I think we're all sick of the Israel-Palestine conflict, and because you've got influences like your Avi Yemenis and your Morgan Jonases and that. And these are nice guys sometimes, and that. But we don't want either side really. I mean, it's Australia first. No. That's what we should about. No. We don't want this foreign war brought here. If you're really passionate on either side about it, you can go over there and you can be an activist in Palestine. You can be an activist in Israel. And I don't begrudge someone like Avi being passionate about that because that's his background. That's okay. But if you're into it, go over there and have at it.
Here's my prediction, gentlemen. Could I make a prediction? Okay. In the light of the terrible events in Bondi, and like I was saying before, I hate the fact that they staged that event in such an iconic Australian landscape.
I mean, we've all been there, haven't we, David?
Bondi will be forever tarred as the place where that terrible thing happened.
It was an attack upon our beach, mate, our main beach.
Yeah. Look, it's highly symbolic, and I think it's deliberately highly symbolic event, obviously, But here's my prediction. Okay, no matter what you think, I think it's a false flag. I think people died and people shot people, blah blah blah. Obviously. Of course, but I do think that behind you scratch those two men who did the firing, and you will see foreign intelligence agencies. I can guarantee you of that, okay? But here's my prediction, okay, that no matter what you think about that, okay, and of course you're welcome to your opinions as long as they agree with mine, but no matter what you think about it, the loser, there'll be an obvious loser out of this situation, okay? And that will be the Australian population, okay?
Yes.
Now, there'll be all sorts of arguments and comments, and a lot of the Australian population are very angry about mass immigration, for example, okay? I can guarantee you that they will not be listened to in any way, shape, or form, for example, okay? And the absolute loser out of this situation will be the Australian public, okay? And what that tells you, it tells you a number of things, okay? One thing that it tells you is that the people running this country do not have any interest in the well-being of the Australian public. And I think this is something we really need to wake up about, okay? We really need to get a grip of ourselves. The people running this show, ostensibly, and I mean the mainstream media as well, and the political class, they don't give a rat's ass about the Australian people.
And what's extraordinary
in fact, they hate the Australian people, okay? So no matter what happens out of this tragedy, and I think it's a tragedy, I hate it, okay? But what will happen is that the losers will be the Australian public. And what that tells you is that structure, that whole structure, hates the Australian people.
But it's like during COVID. It's like during COVID. It's the criminal political class that are at least involved in this in some way, or covering it up, or not investigating it properly, or whatever. And of course, then people who are criticising it, which is often people on the far right who criticise mass immigration, particularly member of that, the NSN network, all those kind of people, they're being deported if they have a bad visa, or they're being locked up, or you know what I mean. So, and remember, Albo came out and said the problem is the far right. It's like, hang on a minute, they were the ones who warned about Muslim immigration before anybody. You know what I mean? So it's just crazy.
Yeah, it is. There's just going back though, today, a lot of Australians don't realise, but that's why I did the Goat Show tonight. Now, the COVID threw anyone out of society who disagreed with the government. And that's why I called it Goodbye Road. And now we're here. And tomorrow, Google and Apple are supposedly bringing in new regulations for getting on. And you're supposed to do facial recognition to get on. So at the moment, we've lost Substack. There's a lot of people who can't get onto Substack anymore, which is supposed to be exempt. But they're asking for age verification now, and people aren't complying. We've moved to Beehive, but we're also building our own now on WordPress with our web designer. So we might have our own Substack very shortly, because there's a lot of open source stuff like that. Rumble. So there's things like that are happening now. But apparently, from what Robin says, what it is, you say you get onto YouTube or Facebook or anything on Google. If you don't put in facial recognition, you can still access their products, but they will assume that because you're not doing facial recognition, you were 16 and below. So anything that's for something a 16 above can't anything a 16 below can't watch will be blurred. So this is what's happening now, and people are partying, and they've done it now. It's insidious that they're doing it on the 27th. But
it's a Trojan horse, this whole issue.
Yeah, and I'm really interested to see what will happen, whether Australians will go, this sucks, because they did it in Louisiana. They tried it there with this age verification, and a lot of the sites, they lost business up to 80%. It actually crippled the internet business of Louisiana.
And most boomers wouldn't know how to, prove their ID even if they wanted to. I know my mother had to prove her ID. There's no way unless I assisted
this is true. This is true. This is going to blow your mind. And this is a Tom Vogel story. Tom Vogel got kicked off Facebook. He had to age verify, and he didn't want to do it. But
I
then
missed him.
he got a call. He got told by one of his other podcasters that the reason the young kids were getting past it is they weren't using their face. They were putting a picture of Albanese, and they were putting Albanese into the age verification. So Tom tried it, and it worked. He put in Albanese's face. He just moved the photograph around, submitted it to Facebook, and he was allowed back on his page.
I was at a Christmas party.
Albanese, the man who's censoring the web, it's like using Big Brother to access freedom.
I think it's interesting. I mean, I know some people in the freedom movement who've lost their accounts to Substack or this, that, and Robin's lost stuff. But then, I was at a Christmas party yesterday, and there was like a friend's kids, and they say, "Oh, we've still got our, we've still got our Facebook, our Instagram," and they were definitely under 16. So it's just like extraordinary. It's like the real 16-year-olds are getting away with it, and yet people who are 60 are not.
Well,
Can I just point out something?
Yeah, David, what?
Can I just point out, and you might try and shoot me down for this, and that's completely fine. I can take it. But I don't think I'm proposing to you that this so-called under 16s internet ban that we all know about and we're talking about, the fact that came into effect 4 days before what happened in Bondi, I don't think that that's a coincidence. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm going to put that right there. I don't think it's a coincidence. Okay, and yet again, it's an example of what I was saying, a few minutes ago. The loser is the Australian public. Okay, they'll lose access to information. They'll lose the ability to share information. We will, and many other people will, and people will lose the ability to access, adult information, as in information outside of the mainstream media. So yet again, in every situation, this is how you can tell that the people ruling over you hate you. In every situation, you lose.
Yeah. Well, the other interesting thing, Substack the other day called and said, we've got one of the most popular ones. We're 88th in the world for our Substack, Cafe Locked Out. So we haven't been touched it yet. They have not touched us.
Well, I know a friend who has a
one of our
Substack.
Podcasters, but as yet, not us. So
I know a friend who has a
lot of people
Substack.
can't see our stuff. Sorry,
She's 40. She's the girl who helps me with the Melbourne Underground Film Festival, Ephesians. She got locked out of her Substack, but then she was able to use some other thing that she had on the internet where she had, like they know she's over 18 because it's some banking thing, and she was able to access it. I can't remember what it was, but you can email me if you want the suggestion, because I sent you the email about it. So some people, there will be ways around it, and particularly if you're quite net savvy. I mean, a lot of teenagers are getting around it all kinds of ways, and I imagine if you're an adult, you can probably work out a way. But I have no idea what's going to happen.
But the problem is, Richard, is the squeeze will just continue. They'll just demand more and more information. The squeeze will just keep continuing. Okay, they won't back down unless people make it really uncomfortable for them.
What are you going to do, David? What are you going to do?
David, I've got a question for you though, because this is Substack, which they told us was exempt. I contacted Malcolm Robert. He said, no, it's exempt. I said, well, it's not exempt because everyone's getting kicked off. It's a very intellectual thing. You don't get funny cat videos. It's mainly professors and stuff from around the world, people doing what we do, Wouldn't you agree, Paul? That's mainly people got to research and get papers there.
You mean Substack? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at least the way my experience of the feed is, you've got scientists and people from all walks of life. You've got Marianne Dempsey, who publishes there. There's Robert Malone, Gerd Van, basically everyone. It's our journal. It's our meeting place of ideas that are censored. I was able to put up a Substack in 2021 before I went on Steve Kirsch's show in December to show what the government had accused me of, my heresy. And that's important because you can see you can fact check the people, and this is their way of trying to wrap up all the dissident,
all the intellectuals. They come after the intellectuals.
All the people who are off narrative. I think you could say we're all safely off narrative, and we've been devastating for the narrative, and so they're thinking we've got to shut them up. We've got to remove them from even further but they've been sitting on us with censorship from the get-go.
Yeah.
But
and remember, they had all the censorship during the pandemic as well. I mean, it's not that different.
The beautiful thing is, it's sort of like it'll, to use Gert van der Bosch, it's like it's going to produce an evolutionary pressure for people to find alternatives where you can remain anonymous, but you could still even transact and pass information and have a permanent record, whether on a blockchain or something. I think we're moving towards a decentralized information, decentralized finance, even decentralized governance, ultimately, where the decisions are open, transparent, and fair.
Well, that's the libertarian goal, isn't it? But obviously, the globalist thing would prefer the Chinese model. Obviously, what we're being kind of shepherded into already exists in China. Where you jaywalk and the money already gets taken out of your account by the time you've crossed the road, because you know what I mean. So apparently this system, and I'm actually reading the book at the moment. David, you'd like this. I'll maybe lend it to you afterwards. This guy, Alex Karp, The Philosopher in the Valley. It's about Palantir. Palantir, it was one of the seeing stones from Lord of the Rings. Peter Thiel is involved in this. A lot of very nefarious people. It's actually a really fascinating book, and he's actually quite a smart individual, but kind of nefarious at the same time. So it's well worth looking into what these people are up to. Because
can I just add to that, gentlemen? I do think, in the context of everything that you're discussing, which is all very relevant and all very true and all very obvious, we know. I do think we have to really attempt. We have a responsibility to try and think a couple of moves ahead, and it seems obvious that the digital landscape is highly controlled and highly controllable, and it always has been. I do think we have a responsibility to try and think a few moves ahead, and I would suggest one, because I'm a closet Luddite, I would suggest that one of those moves is we have to embrace the sort of jujitsu of this push to censor us wherever we go in the digital world. We have to kind of embrace that and try and move as much into the physical realm as we possibly can, the real world. Like it's much harder
real
for
events.
the forces of darkness to control the real world. They don't have enough agents yet. That's why I think that they've tried to, over the decades, drive us into the digital domain, and it's been convenient and useful, and I understand all of that. I'm not going to argue with any of that stuff, but we have been driven into the digital domain, and now they've shut it down, and they're fencing us in from all sorts of directions. I do think we need to consider
real world
smart moves, and does that mean we move much more into the physical realm?
Well, we've done this, David. So we've got banned book companies now, and we market them. I started with mine, but we got these now with these other writers, and people are buying 4 books at once. And what we're saying is the publishing world is finished. So people are self-publishing books because no one will publish them, and they end up with these boxes of books in their living room. There's no way to market them. And we'll say, we'll market them. We take a small 10% or 20%, depending on the writer, and we'll market them. And people are coming along and buying 4 at a time. I think they're buying them out of defiance. And this.
Well, you also can't censor a book once a book exists.
You can't censor it. You can't go back and AI, because all our Substack posts could be rewritten. You know what I mean?
Can I say?
Have the right to do it.
All Snog songs could be re-recorded praising the globalists.
Yeah, that's right.
Rob.
Any day now. Any day now.
What they're doing it with Disney, they're putting chemtrails back in.
What's Paul got to say? Paul wants to talk.
Paul.
Dr. Sleep. Go
Dr. Sleep. I've got something perfect for you, David. Something that even a Luddite can use, and which arguably is it's happening globally right now as we speak. Can you guess what it is?
I've got all sorts of guesses. Some of them aren't suitable for family viewing, but go ahead.
So silver, I know I've been yelling about silver. Like you don't need electricity. You don't need internet. You can verify it many different ways to know what you've got is the real thing in front of you. It's been around for centuries. It was always known as money, but somehow we forgot. And there's a massive short squeeze happening now, but it's a structural squeeze because there's a lot of demand for silver.
You're in the silver market, are you, Paul?
Yeah, I've been telling people this because it's an obvious freedom play.
What about gold? How do you feel about gold?
Well, look, the central bankers have been hoarding, accumulating. They can conjure money out of thin air in any quantity they like, and they've been buying up gold for some years now, since 2008. And basically, we're facing another 2008, only times 10 or whatever. Is brilliant because they never fixed any of the problems. They just made them bigger. And if you remember 2008, there was they lost trust that they were good. You know, the bonds were money good. You know, they were sold a whole lot of shit, and then the central bankers bailed out the other bankers, and the rich got even richer, and the 99.99% got poor, and they're about to do it again. But my point is, the silver market is going apeshit, and I've done a few tweets about it. But this is it's a problem with availability, and this is a bit esoteric. But it's the swap rate, which is what the bankers use. The gold swap rate hasn't been touched, but silver is showing really big signs of shortage, and there's been some revelation after revelation of how there's been price suppression all our lives. You know, so silver's there's a paper price and there's a physical in your hands real price.
There's a run on silver.
Yeah, basically there is a bank run in progress, and silver is diverged. That's what this is about. It's decoupled. So look. We can talk about Celine later, but my point is, I think there's a whole change. The breakdown, remember, all of our wealth, so-called wealth, our super, our savings, they're in the fantasy confetti units made by the bankers out of thin air. And the world is...
Your millions and your millions, Michael, we could put it into silver.
Well, I'm just saying you want to get, Bitcoin. Other people use Bitcoin for the same reason. I'm distressed.
That's falling. What's going on with Bitcoin? You know,
but everybody has silver.
There's a rumor Epstein was involved in Bitcoin. Have you heard that?
Yeah, I've heard that too. Look, even some long-term holders of Bitcoin have cashed in their chips.
I heard that. What's the name of that guy who died under mysterious circumstances? He was a computer guru. He lived in Belize. Remember that guy? He was a libertarian, famous libertarian, John McAfee. Is that his name?
McAfee.
McAfee, that's him. Yeah, and he said, "Look, if you knew who started, a Bitcoin, you wouldn't invest in it." Let me just say that.
Well, it's a very strange story. It's the story of how it started. This mysterious guy came out of nowhere, vanished.
What was that guy's name?
Picked it up and vanished. I'm sorry.
It's a legal Ponzi scheme, isn't it? It's illegal. Think about it.
It doesn't happen.
Bitcoin is a legal Ponzi scheme. It's like everyone gets in. Right, everyone gets in, and then it goes up and up and up, and then when everyone panics, it's going to fall to the floor eventually.
It's the gateway drug for digital currencies. Surely this is kind of obvious, whether you support it or not. I mean, I know plenty of people who support it. That's fine, but it does tend to, obviously, you would assume, lead people into digital currency, the world of digital currencies, and accept those and think that they're glamorous and
David, the thing that's different about Bitcoin is it's decentralized. It's you can still absolutely do a peer-to-peer transfer of Bitcoin, and while it's got value, then that's a peer-to-peer transfer, which is not, you don't need permission from a bank or another gatekeeper. So it hasn't lost those properties. It's not as anonymous as people thought. But if you use the Litecoin, at the second level, it gets quite hard to untangle transactions, and it's basically costless. And it's an alternative, and I think we've got to be aware of that there are alternatives out there that are not rooted in the system. And I think they're really working on stable coins. But that's okay. Stable coins provides a bridge between this old system and the new system. I personally would be happy if we just moved back to little bits of metal. But the truth is,
bit of coin clipping going on.
But the truth is, I've used over the last few years things like kinesis money, where you can actually take your money out of the bank and put it in an account, and you can choose what token. You can have an Aussie dollar token, a US dollar token, a silver token, a gold token, and I've even gone as far as minting coins. If you deposit metal, you mint a coin, and then I've also been able to have coins are minted and have them deliver me the metal. So
if you've just tuned in, this is the financial segment of the show. This is a new to the No-Go show. This is finance with Dr. Paul Oosterhuis.
But this is free to me. This. I'm just talking about freedom, and I'm just. I talk about it seemingly too much, but this is our freedom. I mean, it annoys me that they're stealing the value of their super and their retirement and their savings and the value of their effort, because it's all being paid in the confetti units.
Yeah, and there are so many people who are filthy rich from investing in this stuff when it was, like $1 or whatever, and there are hundreds of other examples of people who are
I don't have a problem with that. But no,
I would have them arrested, mate. I would have them arrested. I would take their money and deport them. How about that? I'm not a libertarian. I'm not interested in libertarianism.
But for having Bitcoin, having bought Bitcoin when it was cheap,
I would have liked that. Obviously, anybody who bought Bitcoin cheap would be a multi-millionaire by now.
Well, some bought very, very cheap. I don't know. Are they the ones you would arrest?
I will arrest if I was dictator. I would arrest anyone who annoyed me, and then I
think. Can we say with great charity, if Richard was dictator, the list would be long. It would be a long list, and I'm not convinced that we would.
Can we get back to what David said?
No, you'd all be all right. Even Dr. Paul would. Even Dr. Paul would give him a pass. Give him Dr. Paul a pass. Anyway,
just going back to what David said, though, I'm with you, David. I think we've got to go town to town, hall to hall, and just start conversations like that they can't censor. That's why they try ban us when we go to places. But I think that's the way forward.
Because remember when we did no-goat shows? We did no-goat shows live.
Gandhi, Jesus, they didn't have the internet. Instead, Gandhi didn't do selfies having his porridge or whatever he ate in the morning. Jesus didn't have a selfie going around going, does anyone see my underpants? It's just they just did it. And I think this will fail, because I think the people, if they get kicked off, will realize, wow, they really have to have freedom of speech. And it'll be harder for them to control if people are going to town speaking, and there are groups that are doing it now.
And I think it would be good if there were regular, like we did with No Goat Show or whatever, where we had groups of people get together and we have different speakers or whatever. If this happened once a month, or or so, you can't do
everyone we had was filled up.
As gentlemen, as you well remember, we did those No Goat shows live. As you well remember, they were very well attended and very successful. And I don't think it's a coincidence that we did a couple of those no-goat shows, which were very successful live in the real world, and they were great forums. I agree with you. I thought they were excellent forums to just get the public involved and have a sort of open mic, with no censorship in the real world. And I don't think it's a coincidence that they came after us very hard after a couple of those no-goat shows live, okay? Yeah. I don't think that's a coincidence.
Yeah, well, that was around the time you got your 10-year ban as well, and that was.
Yes, when Albo said, "You want a no goat? I'll give you a no goat."
Yeah, I do think. Right, I could be wrong, of course, but I do think the forces of darkness really hate the idea of you taking free speech, non-censorship, open expression, blah 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 blah, anger. discussion, debate. They hate the idea of you taking it into the real world. Okay.
Yeah, we had
they're
Julian
sort of all right
Assange.
with you doing it online, but if you take it in the real world, they hate it, and that tells you something.
And we had
the
Julian
ideas spread. Yeah.
We
Do you
had
remember
Julian Assange.
Richard? Do you remember the young boy who stood up at one of our live goat shows, talked about school? He was about 14 and 15.
Yeah.
I was there holding the microphone. I remember having goosebumps thinking, this is why we do it. We inspired this young man to speak up. He was trembling. He goes, I've got nothing against the LGBT, whatever community, but can you stop shoving it down my throat? I don't, I don't want to shove down my throat in school all the time. Amazing.
Can we play that video that I sent you? Can we play that?
Yeah, I've got to hear, Rich.
All right. Very good.
And can I just add, gentlemen?
Hang on, just have a listen
Why
to that.
am I alive? What am I for? Where am I going? What am I going to do with myself? It is said family doesn't matter. You're not even a man or a woman. There's so many genders you can pick. There's no such thing as marriage. There's no such thing as children that are your children. There's no such thing as family. There's no such thing as community. There's no such thing as country. There's no such thing as nation. There's no such thing as loyalty. There's no such thing as religion. There's no such thing as God. There's no such thing as the afterlife. There's no such thing as anything that could possibly make you want to stay alive. That's a fact. Why, if you take away all these things, why be alive? Why be alive? So you can get drunk? Lots of people do exactly that. So you can take drugs? Lots of people do that. Because they can't see any other purpose in being alive. That's my impression of it anyway. They cannot see any purpose in being alive.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's really. Can I just tell you, David, since the heart attack, when I was in the hospital, a profound thing happened. The nurses and the doctors weren't even aware, not just aware of cafe lockdown, they weren't aware of freedom movement existed. And I realized that the algorithms keep them safe. And the MSN, the lying dogs, they don't see them anything. So these people felt alone. And you saw them getting affected when they found out what I did, but they were alone. And it made me realize we're just getting online here just makes us feel good, like we're doing something. But it's really like a squash ball just bouncing off our heads.
There's actually a term for it, Michael. It's called siloing. It's called digital siloing.
Yeah,
that's where they put you in a silo, so you're talking to a fixed kind of audience. You can't really reach outside your silo. It's called siloing.
Yeah. And so
I think all of us.
Just wait, Rich, I hadn't finished. And so what I've decided to do since then, because I had a convalescing period, to stop and go over what I've done. And I thought, we have to get out there and we have to be symbols of freedom. Instead of telling people to wake up, we have to be awake. We have to be symbols of freedom that we hold our head up. We don't show fear. And then bit by bit, people might go, who are these people? And they go, oh, they're the bad ones, the anti-vaxxers. Yeah, but look at them. They're so happy. They're alive. And it's inspiring people to be alive, because I just spent a day with my daughter and she says all her friends are despondent, crestfallen. This is how we fight back, by reminding people it's fucking incredible to be a human being. And this planet is just layers of impossible miracles stacked upon each other. And that's how we fight back against them, who are basically what that guy said, offering you no reason to live. There are gazillion reasons to live.
Correct.
Yeah. Yep. No, I wholeheartedly agree with you, Michael. And I sometimes, slightly facetiously, I point out to people who are completely despondent, because obviously we know people in this situation quite often these days. I do point out to them, look, you're lucky to be alive. There's billions of dead people who'd do anything to be alive right now. Okay.
Damn right. 100%.
Come on. And I agree with you. Life is a miracle. Creation is a miracle. It's extraordinary. We don't understand it. We will never understand it. It's incredible. So we have an incredible opportunity. Like, talk with a rock. Have a conversation with a rock. The rock would much prefer to be alive. Okay.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
By the
strange things that we're all pretty much roughly the same age. We all grew up, with a vision of the future that just hasn't arrived. We were all meant to be flying around in space cars and traveling to the moon and heading off to Mars. And I mean, the only person I can think of that is kind of like that vision is Elon Musk. He's someone who seems to, have that kind of vibe. You know what I mean? Like, and it seems like the humanity's being held back by, you know, what I would describe as the wretched of the earth. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, you know, this diversity thing, and, you know, I mean, there's always going to be poor people, but I think by improving at least one aspect of humanity, that will improve everybody's lot eventually. You know what I mean? If one group of people becomes so advanced.
Sorry, Rich, sorry for it. But where you said there's always going to be poor people,
Yep.
that also comes down to a value system. I mean, I have literally nothing financially, and yet I've never been richer in my life. I'm totally free. I do my work, and somehow the money turns up. I do not worry about the future anymore because it's like chess. I got to wait for the other side to make a move. And that's what we're waiting on. Tomorrow, the government's going to finally move. And they've waited up for ages. Are they going to try kick us all off the internet? And what will the reaction be? So this
yeah, but like, you know, why are the major issues always these stupid wars and always this trouble and all this, you know, like racial conflict, when we should be, you know,
they just
the
want
technology. The technology isn't about surveillance. The advances they're making about how to control us, how to put us into digital prisons. It's not about how to get to Mars, how to, you know, travel in between galaxies. I mean, this is what I grew up on. This was the future. Yeah. You know, all the TV shows, Star Trek, Doctor Who, all these shows, this was the future that we were supposed to have by now, by 2025, definitely. Even Arthur C. Clarke and all these people. We have some aspects of what futurists have said would happen, but, you know, it's more like people like G.J. Ballard who predicted more dystopian futures where things like the space you know, race is just forgotten about, and like Cape Canaveral is just overgrown, and, you know, with tigers.
They lost the files on how to get to the moon.
You know, and like, yeah, you know, it's like something has gone wrong, essentially. The reason we don't have this future is something has gone wrong. And I'd like to get us back on track and head to Mars.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, yeah.
I agree. And also, when you think of Star Trek and all those, the future things we were all looking forward to, how do you think they would have convinced us all to wear Lycra?
Well, that's right. Well, that's got to come, you know, eventually. Klaus Schwab was going to bring that in, but they sacked him before, you know, he was able to bring it in.
He had the outfit. But I do think, though, this is, because the interesting thing is, and it's great to have Dave on, but all of you, let's talk about the Australian public. Let's fuck the rest of the world off at the moment. Just the Australian public. The Australian public at the moment is being offered two futures. One by the governing body, all the money, and it's dystopian. And you go to the Victorian website now, and they're selling 20-minute cities. They've given you, Rich and I talked about the other night, they've gone from 15 to 20. They're selling it like it's going to be wonderful for you. They're selling 1984 to you dressed up with a smile. We're selling the freedom to be yourself. And in their world, you have to think like they think, hive mind. You have to propagate their nonsense in order to move ahead, to keep your job. We're offering the freedom to be yourself, like David here. No, David's never existed before. He just simply hasn't. And he might come back and get reincarnated, but this version of him is a one-off in the time.
He's here. He's unique.
And he's here now. That's what we're offering you. The absolute fucking freedom to be who you are.
You are, yeah.
Think your own thoughts, your own feelings, to interpret the world through your own senses. That's what we're offering. And for some reason, the herd is going, that sounds great, but I've got to do my job. I've got to have my job.
Yeah, well, there's actually a show. There's actually a new TV show that sums up what you just spoke about. It's made by the guy who's a really excellent TV show maker. The guy who made Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, Vince Gilligan.
Oh, wow.
It's called Pluribus. If you want to pull up the trailer, you can play it. Pluribus. It stars Rhea Seehorn, who played Kim Wexler in Better Call Saul. And it's about sort of an invasion of the body snatchers kind of show, where this alien virus lands on Earth and it affects the majority of humanity, where everybody has a hive mind. Everybody is now a we, you know, or a they, right?
Wow.
And there are about 20 people left on Earth who are kind of still individualistic. And these aliens, they're not, you know, they can't convert the people by force. They have to try and convince them by saying, look, you know, it's much better just all being part. And everybody sleeps in like the MCG on the ground or something under a blanket, or, you know, maybe with a roof on it. You know what I mean? So it's all about communal living. It's like global communism is now, you know, it's very, very fascinating, because clearly the filmmaker is not, he's not on the side of these aliens. And David, you will love it. And I think you will love it as well from a libertarian perspective. Paul, it's called Pluribus. It's on, I think it's on Apple TV, which you can get on Amazon Prime. You just got to pay, you know, $10 or something.
I think that's what they actually want to do. I think that's what we're seeing here. A global reign of the world. You know, they want a technocratic. You could say it's communist. You could say it's fascist. One thing for sure is it's collectivist and totalitarian. It's collectivist. It's totalitarian. And there's really only two groups. There's those that value individual human rights and privacy and freedom, and those that will keep telling you, do this for the greater good, take this injection in your arm for the greatest good. Don't have a gas cooktop, in your house because it's for the greater good. And it's not for the greater good, it's a manipulation. So that's the balance. That's one thing I learned the other day. Do you know how they brought in Victoria, you can't build a new dwelling without with a gas cooktop? Well, I looked up Australia. Australia's like the fucking Qatar of natural gas. We pump out. I didn't know this. We pump out more. Like we're second. US is number one, and we're ahead of Qatar as number two, or almost equal. And yet,
Tucker Carlson noticed that
in Russia. Yeah, in Russia, they don't say, don't use gas because of global warming. No, they won't let their people freeze their butts off. They have cheap energy.
We have some of the greatest supplies of energy.
They recommend you use gas. You know, they say we prioritize the domestic population first, and then we sell what's left over, liquefy it, and sell it to the world. No, our politicians say freeze, get expensive energy because we've got contracts to sell the stuff.
They don't say that. They say it's going to be cheaper. That's
they say it'll be cheaper. Everyone knows their power bill's going up. It's crazy. And
we're being China,
who make our renewables, and we get the windmills that don't work, and we get the solar power that isn't up to scratch. And yet this costs 4 or 5 times what just using coal. Even though we're sending that over there and they're just using it, the level of just us being screwed over is unbelievable in relation to energy.
So this, yet again, gentlemen, this tells you that they hate us. That they hate us, okay? It tells you, love them or hate them, but what you're saying, if it's correct, tells you that the Russian leadership actually cares about the Russian people, if what you're saying is correct, okay?
Putin. We love
what
him.
it tells you, the inverse of that, is that the Australian leadership hates the Australian population.
Yeah, of course. And that's why they hate these leaders like Putin.
We had a Russian on recently. I interviewed him. There's no homelessness. There's no homelessness in Russia. I interviewed a guy Australian went there to cover the war. He said there's no homelessness there.
There's also, you go to any non-Western country, there's no transgender ideology. There's no LGBT being shoved down children's throats. There's none of this. No. There's no diversity. There's no diversity in China. They're not flooding Africans into China and going, you've got to be more multicultural, China. You think China would buy that for 1 fucking second? I don't think so. No, it's only happening to European countries. And you know why? Because we used to run the world. And maybe we still do to a certain extent. And that's why we're being targeted. That's why we're being targeted, mate, because we used to run the world. And I don't know who's going to run it next, but it's not going to be, they're going to be worse than us, I'll tell you that much.
You see this guy here, Stephen Hurst. I just want to say something. He said something profound last week.
Yeah, we love Russia. We love Russia.
I don't even got it from somewhere. But what he said was, and this is one of the lies of the last 5 years, he said you can't inject health. And I was in the taxi today. They're just plugging on the radio. I never listen to the radio. They're just plugging and plugging and plugging the COVID and flu vaccines and all this. We got a deadly flu season in the fucking summer. All these people are sick of the flu. You don't get flu in the summer. This is because your immune system has been destroyed by the jabs. We're living in a death camp. People are dropping down around us all the time. My life is just people going, someone's died, they're dying, they've got cancer, they've got this, but don't speak about it. So Australians are like Schindler's List, where, someone's walking by, a kid gets shot, don't say anything, just keep walking, just pretend it's not you. That's where we're at.
And also, too, in questions like freedom of speech, look at Russia. They arrested something like 3,000 people in relation to people who probably slagged off Putin or whatever.
No, 300, I think.
No, it's 3,000. I've looked it up. It's 3,000. It's 3,000. But then in the UK, it's 12,000. So it's four times worse right, than Russia, that is open dictatorship, right? They quite admitted that it's pretty much a dictatorship. Putin doesn't really hide it, you know what I mean? So it's 4 times worse. And as I said, if we were in the UK, all 4 of us would probably be arrested by now. It's unbelievable.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And they want to bring that in. You can see that after this recent attack, there's all this stuff about, language policing. They want to remove that from the river to the sea, which is something that, I've never said it. Apart from just then when I'm talking about it, but it's something they want to, ban or whatever, because it's, I don't know, it's like something Palestinian. No, I don't even like, I've never been to a Palestine demonstration.
But do you know what that means, Richard, that term?
Of course I know what it means. It means to get rid of the state of Israel, mate.
Well,
in 2018,
I understand about getting rid of the state, but I think the Israelis would see it as they want to kill us all.
Oh yeah, I know.
No, there's no "oh" about it. It's saying we not just that we're going to change the political system or whatever, but that we think we should kill all the, like Bondi times. Million or whatever. And
I always go on about the far right.
I don't know. It's like the Hitler thing, but I can understand why Jewish people would consider that. Now, whether you want to, how you deal with that speech in a society that values free speech is.
Yeah, but I think the question is, Paul, where does it end? Okay, so if you start banning speech because it might upset somebody, and I'm not advocating going out of your way to upset people, although honestly I quite enjoy it myself. But if you start, where does it end? Oh well, that phrase upset that group. We better ban that. Although words might be associated with upsetting those people, let's ban. Where does it end?
David, I suspect it'll be about as useful as those machete bins. You put the bins out there, and you say you must put your machetes in this bin. It's like that. It's a typical government response. It's the hatred that has to be, and the violence.
I have no interest in either side of the Israel-Palestine conflict. I have no interest, and I have no horse in the race. And the majority of Australians don't have a horse in the race. We're all Australia first. Australia should come first. This is a great video of this Aboriginal woman who I think should do all welcome to countries.
Yeah, I know the one you
screaming.
Mean.
She screams. She hates the Palestinian demonstrations. I hate the Palestinian demonstrations, but I will say this: that the Palestinian women and children have been suffering terrible, and their losses have been astronomical in the last 2 or 3 years. And there is a legitimate issue there, right? But I'm not into that. I'm not into either side. I'm not into the Zionist side.
I agree. I've seen the suffering on. I think there was a lot of suffering on the other side of the border in Israel with the bombings and stuff that people didn't see. But that 12-day war was maybe it was. This is just all big power.
We wanted to couple.
It's not about religion, but it is about resources. It is about power and control.
I think it's about psychopathology. I think both sides.
Well, yeah, so you called them elites earlier, Richard, and I bit my lip because I don't call them elites. I call them, psychopathic parasites, the psychopathic parasite class, because you've got to call them by the proper name. Don't give them too much.
Can we just say though? Oh, sorry, Paul. I thought you finished.
Simple point. Just that. So they want to centralize the globe, and I don't think they care about your religion, frankly, at that level. Not one iota. But they want to subjugate the whole of humanity, and we as part of humanity, religion,
which is Satanism, mate. I think they're interested.
Yeah. I agree, and this is why I think Christian. A lot of the people who stood up that I've been around have a deep faith in Christianity and
look at the Epstein thing. If that doesn't give off satanic energy,
Damien can't be here because of the light changing. He put his arm up. So he can't come on at the moment. So he's being gagged by the state. Yeah, that's the thing. So,
the whole thing with him has just been ridiculous as well. I mean, this was something that was only recently. This is gestures. There's a famous salute where you raise your hand in the air and you do like a fist. That's the left-wing salute, which is completely legal, even though this salute has been connected to, you could say that salute has been defected with everybody who was killed by communism, which is, I don't know, over 100 million people in the 20th century. I'm sure there'll be a lot of people who might find that offensive, but you can do that on the ABC and Night of the Week. And they probably love it. They hold Marxist conferences at universities every single year. There's a Marxist conference, and there are posters, and there's far left bookshops. And I don't even have a problem with these people. And you know what? You can actually have it if they're open-minded enough. You can have an interesting discussion with far left people, and they particularly don't like it.
Gentlemen, let's be honest about Damien's situation. I think it's pretty obvious to me anyway that they've made an example of him. They've picked a reasonably high-profile person who's left the reservation. If you're in the entertainment industry, you're in the celebrity class, you're supposed to remain on script. And Damien went off script.
He did go off script.
And they've punished him extremely harshly for that. And I'm not Damien, so I can't speak for him. But it looks to me like they've basically tried to destroy his life to make an example of him. Okay. Yeah. And that the reason they make an example of him is to frighten everybody else into self-censoring. Okay. So that you won't leave the reservation. Okay. You won't go off script. So they've pummeled him so hard. I read some comments in the media from the judge in that case, who, from my reading, the best that I could understand his garbled nonsense was that he appeared to say that Damien hadn't done it, yet he was guilty, yet he must be punished. That's
he's not
the
a
best
Nazi.
that I could make of his garbled.
It was Kafkaesque. It was Kafkaesque, wasn't it? Kafkaesque.
It appeared to be completely Kafkaesque. And that's a pretty sure sign to me that this is what they used to call in the Soviet Union a show trial.
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
So we're going to pull this guy up as an example. As I said, you went off script, you went off the reservation. So we're going to pummel him as hard as we can to keep the rest of you in line. Okay.
Absolutely.
And don't forget it. So it's it's an incredibly, personally, we all like Damien, and we're very sad that they've done that to him, obviously, but also on a larger scale, it's incredibly, incredibly ugly what they've done to him. They've made up this nonsense law. I think, in my view, it's insane, outlawing gestures. I mean, what's next? Is John Cleese going to be outlawed for doing the Ministry of Funny Walks? What's next? What sort of insane bullshit is next?
Every bus stop and tram stop in Melbourne tells you to hail the tram driver using the same stance.
Well, you've got to be real careful, Michael.
So you can't. You've got to look around and go.
Hang on. Hang on.
I just wanted to catch the tram. I just want to go back.
It's incredibly ugly, and my heart goes out to Damien because they've pummeled him really hard. It's really, really ugly. And it's a very frustrating situation because they've singled him out to make an example of him, to have a show trial. Yeah. It's just Soviet Union 101.
I just want to get back to the Bondi incident, though, because let's remove whoever planned it, and let's remove the killers and get rid of all those. And we hear about it's the Jews, the Muslims. I think the man that tackled the guy with the gun was an extraordinarily brave human being. He just happened to be Muslim, but extraordinarally brave. Yep. But the young girl, the 14-year-old...
Bad strategy. I don't understand.
The 14-year-old girl who covered those two children was on them whilst the mother was shot, and then she got shot too. The other guy that was throwing the brick, the Jewish people that were there, some of them were extraordinarily brave. And forgetting where they're from, to me, this is Australia. Here, these people, all these people were trying to be as brave as they could. And I love that, because when I hear, it's the Jews, it's the leaders. The majority of people, no matter who, because once I noticed I took the night off Monday. I said I didn't want to do a show because I knew it was just going to be a hate fest. But in actual fact, it wasn't. I was watching Jews, Muslims, other people come on going, we don't want this hate here. This is my brother. I've seen Jews and Muslims leaders doing a thing together. So everybody's actively trying to stop the hate from coming here. They're trying to infect our country with the incurable hate of Israel and Palestine, and we don't want it. Yep. We don't want it. You guys want to keep killing each other until all your land is full of the graves of your children. You go ahead, but leave our country the fuck alone, because we don't want your hate.
Yeah, there's a
And
great
that's what
Tom
they try
Waits
to
song
do.
about. There's a great Tom Waits song about the Middle East. Imagine you just got to Google that, which shows the insanity on both sides. That conflict should have ended a long time ago, but it's this. As we all know, something scary and terrible. I will say something. The shooters there did appear to be targeting that group, like because there were all kinds of Aussies. They were definitely aiming at that Jewish festival, because there were other kind of Aussies who were calling out to them and calling them names, and they were filming, and they never turned around and fired into basically back towards away from the beach. They were definitely targeting that, and the only time they ever did fire in a different direction when the police were moving.
So why did it take the police? I know
that was
Bondi
weird.
Well,
yeah.
I have friends who live in Bondi. I've spent a lot of time staying in Bondi.
Hold
I
on.
know where the cop shop is. Okay,
It's very
the police
close.
station is
Meters
1
away.
block away. Okay, it's
From the
1
bridge.
block away. All right,
Yeah.
and depending on who you believe, I wasn't there. Okay, but different sources say it took the cops 20 minutes to turn up. Other sources say 10 minutes. Yeah. Okay, but I know where that cop shop is. It's a 1 block
minute
away.
walk. 1 minute walk. Yep.
So one of the most obvious signs of some kind of false flag attack is a stand down order. Okay.
Yep,
now, if there was a stand down order that day, that would explain why it took the cops in a mass shooting situation. I mean, it's a block away. You could hear those gunshots from the police station. I know where it is. It's very close. Okay.
Yep.
If you're not there in 3 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes,
something's wrong.
Something up. Okay.
Yeah, and then there was that weird guy. There was that Ostrovsky guy, who was like some activist from Israel, who happened to have survived the attacks on October 7th, and then survived the attacks in Bondi Beach, and happened to be taking selfies. And happened, instead of going straight to hospital to get his wound, he happened to just jump in front of the Channel 9 news camera, covered with.
He's a very busy guy. He's just a busy guy.
Richard. Incredible coincidence here. Yeah,
because if you put that into ChatGPT, a friend of mine did. Apparently, it's like 1 in 1 trillion of the odds of surviving.
Very, very sus. But you're right, David. The police station's very close. I think ultimately there was a plainclothes detective who there was images of him. He ended it with his Glock from quite a big distance. So I suspect what happened was cops are intimidated by people with long guns. If you've got someone with especially an automatic or a shotgun, these are really nasty weapons, and there were scopes on them, and they needed their own. They needed appropriate weapons where they could have stood off and stood back, and but a couple of cops were injured, and there was some evidence of DEI policing there as well.
Yep.
We all assumed better. We all assumed that when something like this happened, and there was that act of bravery of that non-uniform cop who took that shot, and Ahmed, was it Ahmed? Ahmed, brilliant bravery. There was, the acts of heroism. I think they're not scripted.
But he had a loaded gun. He had a loaded gun on the shooter, and unfortunately, he didn't shoot the guy because he could have just let him have it. And obviously, I understand maybe why he didn't. But then, unfortunately, that guy got up, went back up on the.
Maybe he didn't know how to do it. Matt,
maybe
I don't know.
Just shoot him in the knee. Shoot him in the leg. Shoot him in the leg.
Shoot him in the knee.
I just want to call out to people. This is Boris and Sophia Gurman. Now they were just walking past the car when the guys got out with the guns. And they were old couple, and they fought them. They fought. They must have seen that. They managed to get the gun off, but I think the young fellow shot them both. This is incredibly heroic. And here we are in Victoria building a shrine to Dan fucked in the head, and he's getting a big statue. There should be statues to these people. There's just the courage of them is incredible, because there you got one split. You see someone getting out with a gun, you realize you got your Jewish community there, and they go, that's it. I'm fighting these men here with no weapons and probably not even that fit. It's
look, I understand. But just to highlight Christine's comment down below, and I from what I know, I believe she's correct. There was at least 2 or 3 police on the ground at the time, on the beach. those shots, you're letting off a shotgun up on the top where the road is up there. I know the landscape. It's very close.
Yeah.
You're going to hear that thing for like a mile or two.
Yeah.
You know, like why are they not on the radio instantly? You know, what the hell is going on there? I don't actually buy it. I don't buy it. You know, sure, I know things can mess up and whatever. I understand, but seriously, 10 or 20 minutes after gunshots have gone off, there's police in the vicinity. What, 100 meters away, tops? Why are they not on the radio?
We had all these police here when we were on the shrine saying we don't want to take a vaccination, and they had a fucking army there. Shooting us.
And I mean, and obviously, just to focus on the issue of Islam, obviously there are people within the Islamic community, whether they're being used, by intelligence agencies, or whether they're being radicalized naturally. This is a problem within Islam, and no one seems to be doing anything about that because it seems to be the focus is the far right. Apparently, according to Albo, it came out and said the problem's the far right.
No way. He wouldn't even mention Islam. Just us. He wouldn't even mention Islam.
No, I know. Because that goes against his diversity agenda and all this stuff. So mass immigration is the real issue because from both parties you get a lot of bullshit. It's the far right from Labor and from the Liberals it's all about anti-Semitism, which it is neither. Obviously, to some extent, it is anti-Semitism in relation to these Muslim shooters, but it's more mass immigration. These people shouldn't be here. People without our values shouldn't be here, and we should be happily, like Pauline Hanson says, driving them to the airport and putting them on the flight if they don't like, what we're about.
Well, I can guarantee you, gentlemen, that nothing constructive will happen. Nothing constructive will happen, okay?
No.
Yeah.
Nothing.
But the leader of Saudi Arabia said that. I saw him. I don't know. He's one of the princes.
Yeah, I remember that.
We don't have that here because we get rid of them. We won't stand for it. This is the Arabs doing it and so...
They don't have it in Singapore.
If this kid was on an ASIO watch list and his father's got 6 weapons at home, you don't tell me that ASIO didn't know that. Gone. See ya.
Yeah.
Gone. You're on the watch list. You got this. See you later. Off to
Singapore
Palestine. Fight the war.
Singapore is a very multicultural country. It's a small country, but it has like Chinese, Indian, Muslim, and then white expats, people like, Westerners who are just there working or whatever, but like has a very, very strict government. And so they have had no terrorist attack because when they do, they arrest the family, they fuck everybody up. You know what I mean? So the terrorists are too scared to act because they either torture or deport the families. I'm not suggesting we should do that here, but I'm just saying that's just the level of radicality. And I imagine that's what happens in Saudi Arabia and in these royal Arab stuff.
So the other giveaway, gentlemen, I saw a comment below. I didn't quite see who it was from, but I saw a comment below. The other giveaway, all right, the delayed response, the potential stand-down order or confusion of some kind, but also there won't be any substantial inquiry into this mass shooting event in one of the most iconic venues in Australia, in Bondi Beach. There'll be no substantial inquiry whatsoever. Royal Commission, and I know whatever inquiry would be a cover-up anyway. I understand that. But there won't even be one because there's always the danger of some kind of information coming out that they can't control of some kind, So these are giveaways. These are giveaways that this is a con job. This is an absolute frigging con job, okay? Stand down order, no inquiry, shut up, move on, and we're not going to do anything substantial about it. There goes your democracy. There's your little pretend democracy going up in flames. Thank you very much.
I actually think that David's got in his thing tonight, glorious leader. Should David be put in charge of Australia? You know what I mean? Should we have a dictatorship of David Thrussell? I think he could be onto something here. I mean, I wouldn't mind, to be perfectly honest. I could be his deputy of propaganda.
David, Richard, I can imitate David taking power.
Yeah.
Okay, and we can the glorious leader, David Thrussell, has just been made the leader of Australia, and here he comes for his acceptance speech.
No, we have good security.
I understand your point. I hope that's not true, but I guess we'll see soon enough.
I'd get Palantir on the phone. To protect him. I'd say, Alex Carr, we've got to protect him.
No, look, I've got a plan already, gentlemen. I'm planning to hire Charlie Kirk's security team. I heard they won. They had
You'll be
one
sorted.
lapse, okay? Give them a break, all right? Give them a break. They had one small lapse. Just a small lapse, okay? Just a moment, all right?
David,
I
I don't believe it was a stand down order. I think it was poor training, and
I ain't buying it.
I'm willing to accept that there will be consequences and soul searching here.
No, there won't. None.
Well,
They'll be promoted. That's always the pattern. Look at 9/11. Look at 9/11. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not taking away from your greater point. I'm not taking away from your greater point. I'm not taking away from your greater point that look what they had ready to roll. Elbow blaming the far right and not mentioning, Islam or Islamic or Muslim once in whatever all these words. They had the gun laws ready to go. This was now we're going to take the guns away from the populace. And I'm thinking, wow, if the government and the police force can't protect us, we should have more guns in the community among law-abiding citizens. And a well-armed populace is a polite populace. And I think if you've got an invading force, you want your in history, you don't go and disarm your populations. But
people have compared this to the Port Arthur incident. What happened at Bondi.
It's totally been used.
David and I have both been on the what's the name of it again? The podcast.
Wasp Files, Paul Motor.
Wasp Files with Paul Motor. That's right. And so maybe you should get on Paul, to talk about this because it has some relevance. There was a big gun buyback. There was a big gun buyback after the Port Arthur, and there seems to be a similar thing going on now.
So this is David's
coincidence. Just a coincidence. I rang and I spoke to Charlie Kirk's security team, and they said it's just a coincidence. Okay, it's nothing to look at there.
Isn't Candace Owens going off, mate? She's just going off. She's declared, Bridget McCron is a man, and Egypt is following Charlie Kirk's wife around, and it's just so weird,
I thought the point that Bridget was a man.
Yeah, Bridget was a man. That's what I just said.
Gentlemen, I can guarantee you it will be weirder than you can even imagine. The truth will be weirder than you can possibly imagine.
That's it. All right. Well, shall we wrap it up a little bit?
No, there was one more thing to bring up, but I'm trying to remember what it was. It's something significant. There's I think this is really worthy because we're men. The West Australian came out with a front page the other day. Literally the whole front page. It had a young 11-year-old boy, and it said, "We have to something about how do we stop this monster from growing." They're basically saying that this was a monster, and they, with the education system, now have to take this monster and make him into a man that will respect women and others.
It was the war on men. It's the war on white people.
There's the young men are killing themselves out feeling like they've got no purpose. They're unwelcome in their society. This is why I wrote that play about the brothers. They're unwelcome in their society. And then the mainstream paper is doing this. It is just so disgraceful. And I'm asking people in WA, don't buy the fucking paper. Fucking do what they did to Budweiser. Fuck it into the ether. Just don't buy it. Don't advertise with them. You can still fight back with your pocket. Just don't buy the paper. Don't do anything.
Well, I don't think any of us did, mate, but still, it's out there.
Fuck them off.
They own the media, as we well know. So, you know what I mean?
But we can still not buy it. They can still push it out, but no one.
They don't care. It still gets through on the internet
all the time. But they don't care. But the people should care. You have sons. And there's a lot of stuff coming out now that I think there's like 40% of sort of 18 to 25-year-olds men haven't even asked a woman out. And I'm talking to young men who say they've got a lot of their male friends that are virgins. They've never gone out with a woman. They're just terrified. You've just taken away. You get these beautiful stallions and you're making them into ponies at a fucking children's touchy parade or something. We've got to build up our beautiful men. You've got a beautiful son, David. I'm not going to say anything about him, but you meet him, you're going, what a gift. What a gift. You know, I've got a beautiful son too. It's just these should be gifts, and we should be nurturing them, giving them purpose, making them feel welcome, saying, "You're the architect of the new future, kid." You know, and instead we're rubbing their face in as though they've been born wrong.
Yeah, but a lot of them are seeing through. You got people like Nick Fuentes and stuff who are really talking, and you got, you know, a lot of other people. I mean, a lot of people don't like Andrew Tate, but there's certain, you know, within them, you know, there's a certain message of masculinity coming through the
voice what they want. He's
you know,
giving them
exactly. Because they just want to be guys, they want to be men, and they want to be a bit, you know, when you're a teenager, you want to be politically incorrect, you want to be a bit controversial. I know I certainly was. You know, and so, yeah, I mean, you don't want to have this woke rubbish shoved down your throat. Everyone knows it's bullshit. So this is why I think, you know, something is happening, you know, and that's why even though someone like Trump is not perfect in 100 different ways, and it's probably in Epstein files and everything, but
that's what it is. Julian Assange came out in defense of Trump.
There you go.
And said
so, you know,
nothing on him.
There's something that's up the rails there, and this new right thing, and it's not necessarily going to be Trump himself, but it's whoever might come next. You know, if it ends up being Nick Fuentes, that will be quite an interesting change. If it's JD Vance, it will be less of a change. But anyway, look, it's all very interesting, and we're living in interesting times. We are cursed, as the saying goes.
Yeah, we are. David, it's been a joy to have you back on. I had Richard on recently, but it's been a joy to have you back on, brother. And
thanks, gentlemen. It's very nice to see you all.
Go and
as always, I'm sorry I haven't had much to say today, Paul, but you do have the
I was learning things like I didn't know about the bombs in the caravan bits. You know.
There you go.
Oh, look into it, Paul.
Look into that, mate.
Very interesting.
I've obviously fallen behind in my
about February or March this year, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
Very interesting.
Very interesting.
That's right. It was the same when they were going
very interesting
at the Sydney thing, and the police had to come out and pretend they said, "Where are the Jews?" You remember
some of it is like a weird Bond movie.
They were saying, "Where are the Jews?" And you can hear the thing, "Gas the Jews." It's just saying. David, anything you'd like to take us out with? David, you might not be aware of this. This is something we're doing. Where is it? I've lost my bracelet. Here it is.
Well,
no, here it is. Now, this is
a bee.
It's a blue-banded Australian bee. The blue-banded Australian bee, a native bee, doesn't live in a hive, doesn't follow a queen, gives birth in a hole, and pollinates flowers. So it wants to be a productive part of society, but it wants to think for itself. And we're seeing
Is it illegal in Victoria?
It will be. They're arresting
right. It sounds illegal to me.
They already killed them in Queensland. But the thing is, we're looking for a gentle symbol that people can wear in this dark time to find each other, and it's safe. You don't have to kill the government or anything. It's just a fucking bee, man. And so it's a symbol that we say it's how you find each other. And we're selling a lot of them now because people are getting it. But we've actually got a song to go with it. But this is symbols. In every movement, symbols are incredibly powerful because you can't eradicate them. You can draw it anywhere. 832 has started it, but I think 832 is what the people want. But this is who we are. We just want to think for ourselves and live in a community where we can be productive, but we can be free-thinking, free-loving individuals. Yeah. So anyway, would you like to take us out with something before we play the final song?
Look, a friend of mine made an interesting point the other day. I was having a conversation with a good friend of mine the other day, and he said, look, the situation in some ways, not always, obviously, but in some ways is quite simple. I hate to use the word government because it's just a crime syndicate, isn't it? It's just organized crime, basically, isn't it?
Yeah,
but whatever you want to call that power source, and it's, infinitely corrupt and whatever, but it is psychopathic, and what you do, you have to think about your response to these situations. You have to think about the way you behave towards an obvious psychopath. What do? You walk away from them, you disengage from them, you don't listen to them. There's all these responses, these sort of, recommended responses to deal with psychopaths, and that our power, the power center in our society, I actually think the power comes from the mainstream media first, and then downstream is the so-called government, the organized crime gangs, whatever, but you need to sort of think realistically about these structures and go, okay, it's psychopathic and I need to behave accordingly, however you think that is. So that's just a suggestion for people.
Very good.
I don't have it, Valerie. Sorry, not on this laptop.
Decouple.
So we're going out with Be Free. Yeah, there's all right. Anyway, that's it, guys. Thank you for coming on. And
Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to everyone.
Tomorrow, we might be here, we might not. We might get kicked off the internet. We don't know. But we're here now in the midst of this big celebration. They are coming at the last time they came after your freedom of choice and you handed it over to them. And then they turned around and said, no, you gave it to us. It was your choice. It was your choice to hand over your freedom of choice. Now they're after your freedom of speech with the same thing. They'll say, but you wanted us to protect the 16-year-olds. You gave us your freedom of speech. That's what's happening tomorrow. Let's see what happens. This is
and if that does happen, meet people in the real world. There's plenty of people out in the world who want to talk about this stuff, who want to organize, who want to do things. You know, we really, and I know we've said this before on this show, and I appreciate it's been said on this show before, but we really need to think about solutions. Okay, what are we going to do? You know, like, yes, we know it's a bad situation. We know there's all this psychopathic bullshit going on. It's fairly obvious, let's be honest. What are we going to do about it? Okay, there are responses. We're not powerless. We can respond.
Yep.
Another no-go show coming up.
Time for action. Good night, guys. Good night, Australia.
Thank you. Good night.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Historically, we are the debris, forgotten faces, never more to be. Instead of legends fighting for something that had no guarantees, living ghosts we chose to live and die as their worker bees. Why didn't we break out from their hide? Why didn't we follow our own sun to another life? Why didn't we scroll over all their flowers? Brothers and sisters, it's okay.